Hello and welcome to Grenade. Marvel's Spider-Man on PS4 is a bloody great game. As it's a Spidey superhero outing, it's jam-packed full of references to the Marvel universe. But there's also shed loads of nods to video games, movies, music, and some random occurrences that I think you should see for yourself. Here are 60 Easter eggs and cultural references we found in Marvel's Spider-Man. Let's start with a pretty serious one first. The reflections on high buildings almost always show the Empire State Building. I mean, it doesn't even need to be near. There are a few exceptions to this rule though. Crawl up this building in Greenwich to see what many people are calling the Twin Towers. Check behind you, those buildings aren't there. This potentially is a subtle nod of respect to the former World Trade Center, which suffered tragedy in the 9/11 terror attacks on September the 11th, 2001. The Twin Towers may be gone from the New York skyline, but they'll never be forgotten. As we're all gamers here, let's look at the video game references in Marvel's Spider-Man. First, a bookstore over in the Midtown district. This is Tomb Raider. It's a reference to Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider series. The latest game in the Tomb Raider series, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, released in the same week as Spider-Man on PS4. Coincidence or a nod to a competitor? You decide. I reckon someone who works on Spider-Man also worked on the Tomb Raider series. Around this area of the world, you can find a game store named Gamer Paradise. Looking inside, you'll spot Spider-Man plush toys and a display console looking like an oversized Nintendo Wii. Putting that image through recognition software, and I'm told the closest console to that design is in fact the PSX. Created back in 2003, this beast was a PS2 hybrid with a digital video recorder. Think of it like how Microsoft attempted to sell the Xbox One originally, a media center. Needless to say, it was a commercial failure. Oh, and that controller in front, recognition software tells us it's based on the SupaBoy, a handheld console that can play SNES cartridges.
Super Nintendo capabilities in the palm of your hands.
As we're already talking about fake consoles, look around the world and pick up a PS Vita ripoff.
Gotta have something to do on stakeouts.
Track down the Radio City Music Hall. It looks damn impressive, but take a moment to read the ad lines. Coming soon are the Qwarks with DJ RC. The Qwarks must be a nod to Captain Qwark from Ratchet and Clank, which is likely where the RC part comes from, Ratchet and Clank. To those that don't know, Insomniac created Spider-Man on PS4 and Ratchet and Clank as far back as 2002 on the PS2. There's another Ratchet and Clank reference if you complete 4 different stunts in a single web swing. You earn the rank of Spidey McMarx. Those that played Ratchet and Clank will remember the Tony Hawk-inspired mechanic with a trick called the Twisty McMarx. Hands down, my favourite Easter egg in the whole game is during a side mission in which you stop would-be bank robbers. Once you are tasked with following this guy to his apartment, take a moment to listen to their voices, their clothing, and their names.
My brother's kid. Can't trust him. Anyway, it's done. He's already picking up our safeguard. All right, Roman's ready and we are running late. Let's roll.
They're on the move.
It's Nico and Roman from GTA 4. What an absolutely brilliant way to reference one of the greatest open world games in history. Why do I suddenly want to go bowling?
Nico, it's Roman. Let's go bowling.
Remember Spider-Man 2 on the PS2 or the PSP? Well, there are 2 references to that former great. Don't ever go back and play them, by the way. They are far better in your memory than they are to actually play. Remember the most repetitive mission ever? Yeah, the one where that annoying brat would keep losing his balloon. It turns out that little actually drew Spider-Man a picture for collecting his balloon around 100 times. Looks like our work finally paid off. If you remember the Balloon Boy, you must remember the pizza delivery missions. The soundtrack for those missions can be heard if you stand close enough to one of the pizza restaurants found around the island. The one which works the most is the one in the financial district. It's quite difficult to hear, but have a go. If you can make it out, I'm sure you're having nightmares from the PS2 pizza delivery missions. Oh no, Dr. Connor's class!
Oh no, Dr. Connor's class.
Let's move over to movie references now. Remember this cutscene after defeating the Kingpin.
So, should we kiss now?
This is a nod to the kiss in the movie version of Spider-Man from back in 2002, where Spidey and MJ share this upside down saliva swap. Ugh. In the same movie trilogy, this time in 2004, Spider-Man saved a group of New Yorkers from Doc Ock, using webs to slow a train. Here's how that scene is referenced into this game.
No brakes? No problem. That totally worked last time.
There's one more reference to Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man, this time from the third movie in 2007. Can you remember the cringy scene where Peter is dancing down the street? It hurts to watch, doesn't it? Well, those ridiculous hand gestures can be performed in the Spider-Man video game. Go on, give it a go. Strut down the street, tapping square. Hashtag finger guns. As the game is set in New York, some of the original architecture is there in the game, one of which will be instantly recognisable by Ghostbuster fans. Over in the financial district, you can find the firehouse, which was converted into the Ghostbusters headquarters. Round the back of the building is a piece of graffiti in the shape of a ghost. I'm not sure if that's there in real life, but either way, it's a reference to the Ghostbusters movie. Other film references include this movie entitled Kate and Kevin, which takes usual romantic movie tropes in poster form. There's one film in particular which it reminds me of, The Ugly Truth, starring Gerard Butler and that woman who can't act. Yes, I watched the film to have that opinion. There's a stereotypical action movie photo scattered around the world, one of which is a secret photo. This image is an amalgam of all the Lethal Weapon movie posters, including similar heroes, the poses, and the title, which refers to a new cop on day one, and a cop reaching retirement on his last day, because...
Gun!
Raj, meet your new partner.
I'm too old for this.
Oh, and those trees in the background, they are taken from the Beverly Hills Cop 2 poster. The 80s were pretty cool. There's more references to the game's developers, Insomniac, which can be found around the world, including their studio, which you can spot over in the Midtown district. If you're wondering if all the developers weigh 600 pounds and have never seen sunlight, check them out for yourself. All their images can be found on the volunteers wall in the feast kitchen. They look like real people. Who'd have thunk it? Oh, and jump into camera mode and check out the Insomniac logo on the police radars. Speaking of photo mode, attempt to use it during a fight with a rocket launcher wielding foe. Zoom in on the rocket to read the small print, because the blast is guaranteed to kill spiders. The attention to detail is ridiculous in this game. Spidey shouts out quips as he fights around the city. He notes that his ripped costume may reveal his 3 chest hairs.
Not good. Can't have people taking pictures of my 3 chest hairs.
Well, complete the game to 100% and unlock the underwear version of Spider-Man. Whip out your camera and look at his chest. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he's right. He only has 3 chest hairs. I can't believe I'm sat here counting Peter Parker's chest hairs. This is so surreal.
Can't have people taking pictures of my 3 chest hairs.
When in battle and additional troops join the fray, Spidey says,
More Sable guys! Looks like my webs bring all the boys to the yard!
This is a nod to Khalees and her milkshake song.
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, it's better than...
It's better than yours, I could dig it in him, but I don't know the words. Oh, before I forget, did you ever see Greg Miller and his push for his version of Spider-Man to be included in the game? Shirtless Spider-Man, a beacon of hope for middle-aged, slightly overweight video game geeks. During the party scene in the game, shirtless Spider-Man can be spotted.
Check out my moves!
Let's move over to a buttload of Marvel references. I'll try to keep away from the obvious, like, look, there's the Avengers Tower. But I'm sure I'll still say something completely obvious, so apologies in advance. There's another Spider-Man quip in the opening shot of the game. Amongst all these post-it notes is this beaut. Need a catchphrase? It's webbing time. Any superhero-loving individual will know this is a nod to the Power Rangers and their line, "It's morphin' time!"
It's morphin' time!
It's morphin' time!
It's morphin' time!
Whilst on this screen, let's look at 2 other notes with initials upon them. TS looks to be Tony Stark and his offer to be an Avenger, maybe? And this one is not certain, but RR could be Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four. Looks like he needs a new suit. Tony Stark's damage control company has its own spot in the cityscape. In the Spider-Man Homecoming movie, this organisation played a huge part in the story, as Tony Stark set it up to clean up the problems the Avengers battles left behind. In the comic books, Tony Stark and the Kingpin co-owned this venture. Similarly, the Roxxon Corporation can be found here too. In the comic books, Roxxon was responsible for the deaths of Tony Stark's mother and father, so this oil giant isn't to be underestimated.
Don't mind me, just hanging around. Hanging around? Come on, it's a classic.
Speaking of crippling death and depression, head to the far north of the map to find Uncle Ben's grave. Pay your respects for a hidden trophy and snap a photo for a secret suit challenge. More on that soon. Now's a good time to throw in the Stan Lee cameo in Spider-Man on PS4. I knew it was here, you knew it was here, everybody knew it was here, but we can't have a Marvel Easter egg video without this great man.
Love seeing you two together again. You always were my favorites.
During the mission at Fisk's auction house, keep an eye out for his signature cane and his cello, which he named after his wife, Vanessa. You can see both as Spider-Man, but you'll likely destroy them. Viewing them as MJ is a little easier.
Always hated this cane. So tacky.
Another Easter egg which can only be found by MJ is over at Oscorp in the hidden room. Left on the desk are grenades, which look to be prototypes for Goblin grenades, another villain we can likely expect in the second game. Well, hopefully. The Spidey Squad, dedicated to bringing independent Spider-Man news to the masses, is referenced in two ways in the game. First, the strap MJ has around her camera dons their design, and later in the game, it's a collectible too. Here's what Peter thinks of the Spidey Squad.
The Spidey Squad. My one and only fan club. When Jameson's going off on me, it helps to remember they're out there.
During the party scene where we encountered the shirtless Spider-Man, you'll also be able to see the original designs for other Spider-Man villains. Most noticeably, Electro! Electro caught my eye right away, and his ridiculous costume. That reminds me, what do you think of his redesign in the game? The electric bolt mask is still there if you look hard enough, but it's now an electrical scar rather than the original hood. I digress. Back to the party. You'll find Vulture, the original design for Rhino, and even Fishbowl Head himself makes an appearance. Good old Mysterio.
Hey, what's wrong with you? I worked on that helmet for a week.
Another villain makes an appearance in a side quest, who you may not know just yet. This is Screwball. She debuted in 2008 and is completely fixated on celebrity and views on video. Sounds like every YouTuber I know. By the way, like, comment, and subscribe.
For the millions of clicks I just got! Wow!
Screwball!
During the mission to find the imposter version of Spider-Man, he briefly mentions the chameleon.
Turn around. Someone's impersonating me. It could be the chameleon again. I've got to pick up his trail.
If you don't know him, he's the master of disguise and has the honour of being the first supervillain Spider-Man ever faced back in 1963. Other characters briefly mentioned include Flash, who once bullied Peter at school, but went on to idolise Spider-Man. Just take a look at the notice board over at the soup kitchen.
Veteran homelessness is down, but still way too high. Good thing my buddy Flash Thompson's doing his best to fix that.
Eddie Brock, Peter's former co-worker at the Daily Bugle and the original Venom character, is also in the world, but only in writing. Take a look at the collectible good luck card you find in the world. Look close enough and you'll see Eddie's message, written when Peter left the Bugle. Another Venom reference can be found during our first meeting with Yuri.
So, why'd you call? Need a date to the policeman's ball?
You got a black and white suit?
Yeah, it's quite subtle, but if you weren't aware, the most requested suit asked for by the fans was the black and white Venom suit. This is as close as we'll get at this time, but I'm certain the second game will have Venom in, and hopefully Carnage too. Let's look at references to other Marvel franchises which make an appearance in Spider-Man's first outing on PS4. I found 4 references to Daredevil, some a little more obvious than others. Nelson and Murdoch's business card can be found as a collectible in the game.
Oh yeah, that blind guy gave me his card in case Spider-Man ever needs a lawyer. Wait, hold on. If he's blind, how did he know I was Spider-Man?
Their office is also available to be photographed. Fogwell's gym pops up. That's where Daredevil's dad used to train as a boxer. If you don't know what happened to him, well, let's just move on. The last Daredevil Easter egg comes in the shape of Josie's Bar in Hell's Kitchen, a drinking hole which is regularly filled with criminals, so it's the perfect place to learn about your enemies. Ever heard of RAND or the RAND Corporation? I don't know much about that organisation, but it plays an important role in Iron Fist, Daredevil and even Jessica Jones, so the tower can be found in the open world. Oh, segue! Jessica Jones's private investigator agency is here in Hell's Kitchen too. It's quite subtle, but it's here. By the way, does anybody watch the TV show for Daredevil, Iron Fist or Jessica Jones? I'm very tempted to start watching one, but would like a push in the right direction. Which should I start with? One of the landmarks in New York is the Charging Bull, a huge bronze sculpture in the financial district. It's here in the video game, but it's a little different. The bull has been replaced with a dog. This giant bulldog is actually from Marvel's The Inhumans, and is the official protector of their royal family. You can call him Lockjaw. Other Marvel nods include the Sanctum Sanctorum Doctor Strange protects in the movies and the comics. It even has the circular window drawn back in 1963.
Cool window, but I always get the feeling something strange is going on in that place.
Silver Sable made a brief appearance in the Spider-Man game, and reading her backstory, we learn she is from Symkaria. It's a fictional country. I spent 3 hours searching the globe for it. Symkaria gets 2 references in the game. First, in Kingpin's auction, as the creator of his famous cigars.
Symkaria. Weren't they just in the news?
But later in the open world, you'll be able to track down the Syncarium embassy. Not to be left out, Black Panther's home country of Wakanda has its own embassy here too.
I wonder if King T'Challa got his powers from being bitten by a radioactive panther.
Let's quickly go through 3 quick references to the DC universe found on the streets of Spidey's New York. Look hard enough and you'll find this store, which is impossible to read. Slant it sideways and it says, "Trust Us League," which may be a coincidence, but I believe it's a nod to the Justice League. During fight scenes at night, it's possible for our enemy to be spotted in a searchlight, leading Peter to say this.
Are those spotlights to attract my attention? Maybe make it less ambiguous. Oh, a spider logo. Nah, we can do this.
There's also a running gag about the Spidey-mobile throughout the entire game, which was originally created in contrast to the Batmobile.
Arms are getting tired. Sometimes I wish I had a Spider-mobile.
There's a hidden photo challenge in Spider-Man on PS4. If you need a guide, I'll link it now. Completing this task of finding 50 hidden photos will unlock the Empire State University suit. This suit is reference to Peter's university, which was also attended by Captain Universe, Squirrel Girl, the human-dog hybrids, Nova, Black Cat, and of course the web-slinger himself. And that's only a few names on the list. And finally, Easter egg number 60, the saddest Easter egg in history. Looking at this theatre advertisement, you'll find this message, "Maddie, will you marry me?" This is from Tyler Schultz, who asked Insomniac to let him propose in the game. To his surprise, they bloody well did. Fast forward to the game's release, and Tyler got back in touch with the internet, and sadly, his girlfriend Maddie left him 3 weeks before the game released. It gets worse. She left him for his own brother. What an absolute his brother is. On the bright side of all this, Insomniac and Tyler are currently talking about changing the Easter egg to represent something positive in his life, such as a mural for his grandmother. Oh, what a crappy way to finish the video. I'm absolutely devastated for Tyler, but I think he's actually dodged a bullet with her. So there you have it, 60 Easter eggs I found in Marvel Spider-Man on the PS4. I know there's a ton more, but I needed to stop somewhere, and 60 sounded like a perfect number. Let me know what you found in the comments below, and if there's enough, I'll make a follow-up video. Whew, I'm absolutely shattered, but it's been worth it. It's been a pleasure. I'm Adam from PlayStation Grenade. I'll see you next time.